Show. I am proud to be joined today by Grant Miller, Miami's community newspapers, and I am Mark Trowbridge from our Coral Gables Chamber of Commerce. And that music you hear behind my dulcet tone is Queen's very own We Are the Champions. And today we honor the University of Alabama on winning the national championship of football this week. Congratulations to our friends and partners at the Orange Bowl for putting on not only a great Orange Bowl game that featured UNC and Texas A&M, but mere 10 days later hosted the University of Alabama and the Ohio State University for the national championship of football. I did not go.
Did Sarah go?
I did go to the Orange Bowl. Sarah did not go, but she had stone crabs.
Sarah did not go?
She did not go to the game. She's, social distancing, she and Mario, but she did have stone crabs and tater tots, and I'm assuming some coleslaw as well.
Were you invited?
And no, but I was there when we played each other, Florida and Alabama, which I want to remind you, played Alabama the tightest and toughest this season. They beat us only by 6 points. And last night, my Buckeyes of Ohio State, where I grew up in the great state of Ohio, they didn't quite acquit themselves. Alabama came to play, and they came to win. So congratulations to the SEC and to the Tide of Alabama.
Watching the game was pretty exciting. You knew at any time that Alabama was just going to break it open. Even though when they were winning 28-14, you go, it's going to open up soon. It's going to open up. It's going to open up.
Yes.
You can feel it, right?
I think when you have playmakers like Devonta Smith, who won the Heisman in a runaway, and you have Najee Harris, you're absolutely right. They have playmakers. And Ohio State had, some good drives there early on, first quarter into the second quarter. They got a turnover that they turned into a touchdown. But, you kept waiting for Nick just to go, let's hit the gas. Let's just pedal to the metal.
That quarterback was impressive. Fields from Georgia.
Justin Fields is very, very impressive. I prefer Mrs. Fields cookies over Justin Fields, but,
I don't know about that.
You sure? I don't know. He was having a rough time of it. I think he's still a little bruised and injured from
his hip was hurting, you could tell.
From the Clemson game. He had a hip pointer after he was
But Alabama's wide receiver was hurt also.
They were playing with not a full complement because Smith went out and then Waddell came in and he had been hurt. He hadn't played in the last couple of games and he had a pretty good run at it. But, they're just playmakers. When you think about it, 6 University of Alabama players could go in the first round of the NFL
draft. The 22
draft.
Starters.
6 out of the
that means
22.
But how many are eligible to go?
I don't know that because I don't think everybody's a senior. But I think after winning the title, a lot of those guys are like, hey, I accomplished an undefeated season, an SEC championship, a college football playoff championship, and many of them won awards this past week. Mac Jones was the first Alabama quarterback to win the Davey O'Brien Award. They've got Heisman. They've got a bunch of hardware, a bunch of those guys.
To me, the most emotional thing in that game was what? Do you know?
It's emotional?
It brings me tears. A center that was hurt all year long.
Oh, yes.
He was hurt and wasn't supposed to play. He really wasn't. He should have been dressed out. The coach let him dress out and let him snap the last snap.
Yeah.
Right? Remember that? Everybody was
I
hugging.
I had fallen asleep a little after halftime because the game was sort of out of hand.
He's gonna be a drafted in pros. He's a big offensive lineman.
This is for Alabama or
for
Alabama?
And he was hurt last. Am I right, Tommy?
Well, the center that was hurt in the SEC championship game. So he didn't play against Clemson, but
no, it was one before.
Maybe it was someone else.
And he came out. He hugged all the players. He hugged all the.
It was shouldn't be hugging, but COVID.
Well, it is what it is. But Alabama didn't have any COVID people.
No, they successfully were able to navigate.
How did they do that in other colleges?
I don't know, because Nick got COVID, and he dealt with it. First time it seemed like it was a false positive, and then the second time, I watched an interview with his wife and some of the other playoff wives, and she was talking about how he was at home with one of the games and had to watch it, and she said he was yelling at the TV, like out of control. Like apparently they have like a family room or a den that's like overlooking like the dining room, and she could hear him but not see him. And of course, she knew how the team was doing based on his comments and
I love his
antics.
commercial with the duck.
Is that for Affleck?
Yeah,
and
it's
he wears all blue, which I think is funny because you never see him wear
right
blue, but he's wearing it for Affleck. So
okay.
yeah,
So
he's got a lot of endorsements. He endorses some
how much does he make?
Mercedes-Benz dealerships down in Birmingham, Tuscaloosa, because I've seen them when I have visited.
What's he
Birmingham.
make a year? 30?
No, I know he has to be the highest paid coach. That's how his contract reads. So he probably is around $10 million a year.
Nice. Okay, so what's happening in Chamber?
So this is a quiet week this week. We're not having our New Year's event tonight, unfortunately, but we decided to pull the plug on that. Just
you are going to have it, just not now.
We will have something.
Yes.
We're working on a different idea. Morgan and Erica have a couple of different ideas. So fingers crossed, but I think we'll come up with something even more creative. Although this was going to be great. We'd already sold around 75
How was your week
tickets.
show you went last week? You had with the Gables Bar. What happened there? Talk about
that. We did that. That went very well. We had 42 people out of the 50 show. We took everybody's temperature. We were pretty diligent in making sure that when they weren't eating or having a drink of their beer, we were at Bay 13 Brewery and Kitchen, Nick Sharp's new place on Alhambra. As a matter of fact, I'm having lunch there tomorrow with a fellow chamber colleague.
What time?
At 12:30.
Just want to make sure everyone knows.
I always hate how you feel left out, but you're a man with a busy social calendar. I mean,
okay, so how'd the event go?
The event went very well. We partnered with the Coral Gables Bar Association. Their president, Hugo Alvarez from Becker Law, and our team, our chairman, Brian Bearcat, is on the Bar Association's board, so it made sense to come together, and it worked out really well. We only allowed 50, and we had, I think, 42 that came.
And you had the whole outside?
We had the entire outside, so lots of room.
That's 50
yards. It wasn't
yards.
super busy on a Wednesday evening, and people kind of drifted into their little pods of 2 or 3.
Did they go around the fountain?
Some people did, sure.
It's a beautiful facility.
Gorgeous outside venue, and, credit to Nick and Teresa Sharp.
Food?
Food is great. I did not eat that night because I was headed to a birthday dinner with some family. But I did enjoy seeing people in person, because many people I have not seen in person other than on a Zoom call in 10 months. So
I call it a mud pie, but it's a meat pie, like a pot pie.
Almost like like a very traditional Australian meat pie. It's quite good. No, I
had 2 of them when
Wow. They're designed to be shared.
What? I don't share. Okay, so everybody who attended, your group of people were very happy. Yeah, and then we keep an eye on everybody. We reach out to them, so we'll do it tomorrow at 7 days and say, how's everybody feeling? Anybody in the contact tracing? Anybody go and have a test? Anybody positive? So that we can also be diligent on the front end during the event and 7 to 10 days outside the event. So we've done that. We've only done 2 in-person events, and we've done that for the first one with 0 issues, and we'll do it again tomorrow. Do you know anybody who's got vaccines shots yet? I do know a couple people who have told me that. And what I find fascinating is they've been lying about their age for years. Because if they got it, that means they're at least 65 or older, or they have some kind of hookup. Right. Unless they got a lot of health issues. Could be, but right now the county is focused on 65 and older. I went on Saturday for my typical weekly test at Tropical Park, and it was the first day that they had pivoted to both testing and vaccine, and I waited an hour just to get into the park, and I couldn't get in. So it was because somebody calls me Saturday. I know you'll appreciate this. Saturday somebody calls me and says Tropical Park's crazy. It was. So this was at 8:30 in the morning. This is at 10 o'clock. I go, you're crazy. So of course I drive on Bird Road, and I'm such an idiot. You know why? Because the first thing I do when I think of Bird Road, you know what I think of? Arbiters. And then I had the new tater tots named after you. I can't wait. I'm having them today when our show ends. So I have to tell you, I'm thinking as much about you as I am about those tater tots. And I know you had some on Sunday. So did you go by and see what the mayhem was? Yeah. I think it was not a great decision to open it to both testing and to the vaccine and use the same entrance. So I think by the time I went yesterday, I went early yesterday at 7:30, and they opened at around 7:50. It only took me
about 45 minutes from the time I arrived to the time I finished to get my test, which is a lot longer than it has been, where it could be 10, 12 minutes. But I'm willing to do it. I've made a commitment to get tested every week just because I am out and about. I had, a couple meetings today where I'm out with people. We're sitting outside, but I'm also cognizant that,
Speak about health.
people are around you.
How much weight have you lost since the COVID?
I've lost about 60 pounds.
Since the COVID?
That's correct. A little bit started before because I had bought my Peloton right before
I
COVID
found some of
for
that
Christmas. You did?
Yeah.
First of all, you look fantastic. Second of all, if we weren't live, I'd probably be unable to control myself.
That's why I have this glass. Okay, we
It's
jumped
the modern day restraining order and COVID,
Okay,
detector.
Let's get back to the Orange Bowl, the national championship.
Yeah.
Even though they only allowed like 20,000 in the
It
stadium.
was about 14, so that's
all they're allowed?
That was the number that they published. I had read an article over the weekend where they interviewed Eric Palms and Billy Talbert, and everybody understands that this is the time we live in. And so when you're bidding to host the national championship 3 or 4 years ago, you have no idea we're going to be in the middle of a pandemic. You have no idea you're not going to be able to sell every one of those 65,000 seats. And what I remember from my days at the Orange Bowl is, another 15, 20, 25,000 people just come to town because they want to be around it. They don't have a ticket, but they go to the beach or they tailgate or whatever it may be.
There's all these parties.
There's a lot of other things. So none of that happened this year. Our hotels got some benefits. So, the hotels, like the host hotels, the Intercontinental, the Fontainebleau, but you can only imagine that that is still not what people had hoped for. So the double hosting, a lot of those folks helped out because you had folks from UNC and fans of Texas A&M, 2 great traveling squads. And then you had, of course, 2 blue blood programs in Alabama and the Ohio State University. So pretty cool. So,
okay, next, what's up with Good Morning? You got a Good Morning breakfast?
We do next Thursday. So
is it live?
We had planned to do it live, but we're going to pull that back. Folks were more comfortable registering on Zoom, and we were really having some technology challenges to try to have it outside and create a Zoom and allow our speaker to Zoom in. So we're going to take another run at that in February, but looking very much forward to our breakfast. We have Nancy Myers, who's the new president and publisher of the Miami Herald, as our keynote speaker. Nancy Myers. She came from the Sun Sentinel, been there for about 3 or 4 months. We had our first conversation back in October, and she said, give me a couple months to get settled, get my hands around what we're doing here, and invite me. And so she'll join us on January 21st.
She's got a tough job.
Sure.
Everybody's criticizing the daily newspaper.
Daily newspaper has been under assault for a while. I think one is that people aren't subscribing the way they used to. People aren't advertising, and we've had, unfortunately, for the last 4 years, a lot of conversation around the veracity of our media partners, whether they're in print or they're in TV media, social media, online, you name it. There's been a lot of energy around those conversations.
Yeah, it's not just the Herald. All daily newspapers are taking a pounding, and it's going to be, how much money do you spend on editorial? In the heyday, in the 80s and 90s, there were unlimited budgets to go after elected officials, make sure they cover news. The big story they broke in the last year was Jeff Epstein. Sure. That wasn't in Dade County. That was in Palm Beach.
No, but the reporter was a Herald reporter.
Correct.
And,
they need to do more.
She got a lot of press.
Yes, national press.
And she also got, a lot of threats, because I had a chance to sit with her. The Herald and the Knight Foundation did an event where she spoke at it back when we were in person, and it was pretty amazing at the level of vitriol that had been put in her direction. And listen, I think if she is putting a story that had been grumbled about, talked about in certain circles, but had never seen the light of day like she brought it to, I can understand some people maybe weren't comfortable with that.
Well, the Herald's, hopefully Nancy Myers does a great job. It's important for us to have a stronger voice daily, and it's important.
She comes from the South Florida community, so she knows.
Florida Sentinel.
Well, she came from the Sun Sentinel, exactly. And so
we sued them and beat them in federal court.
All right.
And the Miami Herald too.
I'm sure I can bring that up at the breakfast.
Say, hey, Grant Miller wants to know.
Grant Miller has a question for you.
Okay. So, all right, what else is happening?
So our friend Eric Eichenberg is on. Hi, Eric. And he's talking a little bit about a program we're doing together next week. Eric is one of our key panelists on our Dear 46 program. And the idea is this is a love letter to the new president regarding what will be some of his priorities. Some of them may happen on day one with executive order. Others may be very quickly brought before the Congress. We're a week beyond the Georgia election. When we were sitting here a week ago, I had a conversation with Michael about what I thought might happen. I thought it might be a split, but it wasn't. It was a victory for both Democratic candidates, both Senator-elect Ossoff and Reverend Warnock. And now you've seen Georgia support the Democratic Party both in the presidential election and the last two Senate races of last week. So, but Eric's going to talk about what I think he will see as the Biden administration's priorities regarding water and the environment, certainly our beloved Everglades, and the priorities that are there. I think we've all heard the president-elect talk about things like the Green New Deal. We've heard him talk about the Paris Climate Agreement, things that were not a priority under the current administration. You'll have the Honorable Susan Harper join us to talk about trade and foreign direct investment. The president-elect has already nominated his new trade rep, the USTR, which is an ambassadorial role, but will be key because we're in the middle of implementation of USMCA and in the negotiations of the USA-UK trade agreement now that they are sort of post-Brexit environment. So trade will be front and center. Susan Harper is from Canada, just an amazing, amazing leader and very focused on the issues of trade and investment. And people must remember that Canada is one of our most significant trading partners, as you might imagine.
Well, speak about Eric. He's going to be here tomorrow.
Oh, good. Well, if you haven't registered for that program, please do. It's next Wednesday, the 20th. It's Inauguration Day at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and it'll be led by Abby Maloney, who is with Catalyst Miami. She'll be leading the panel. And I mentioned Eric already, but we'll also be joined by Louis Chiappi from Equitable Advisors.
Who's a true
classy guy and talking about our markets. And then we'll have Tom Sullivan zooming in from D.C. He runs small business policy for the U.S. Chamber. Matter of fact, this morning, Tom Donahue, who is the CEO of the U.S. Chamber, gave his state of the business community address to the country. And of course, the big focus was on, supporting initiatives in the new administration, especially around infrastructure, especially around small businesses and small business recovery, and continuing to find ways to support businesses as we roll out the next round of the PPP. That opened as early as Monday. And today, if you had already received PPP money and now have the ability to show an additional 25% loss, you can apply under certain circumstances for additional PPP money.
So the reason I brought up Eric, tomorrow, he tries to get money and protection by Congress, correct?
That is correct.
And the congressman from Dade County,
formulas,
who represents almost 50% of the Everglades, is Carlos Jimenez.
That is correct.
So the easiest way to get to the congressman
is the golf.
No, not his wife, not his kids, but his granddaughter is interviewing Eric tomorrow.
Oh, that's right. You mentioned that last week when we chatted.
So we know for sure.
That's wonderful. He's a big golfer, too, just so you know. I happen to know his tee time. But out of respect to the congressman's privacy, I won't share that.
Tomorrow, a sixth grader from Coral Gables Prep.
Yep. Coral Gables K-8 Preparatory Academy.
Right. Who worships the school. She's going to be interviewing Eric. And I think there's a great opportunity for the Everglades might never get in front of the as congressman, but he's going to get in front of the granddaughter who does make the grandfather watch the show.
So, Eric, I know you're listening, so let me give you a little tidbit to ask back to her, which is about the history of her school. That school was opened in 1919, earlier than Coral Gables was incorporated in 1925. And George Merrick gave a loan to the school board to help finish the school because they were short of money to
Wow.
finish the school in 1919.
Is that a public school?
It is a public school. It was an elementary school for many years, and under
Where is it? Where's it located?
superintendent, it's right on Ponce de Leon. It's about 2 blocks north of our office.
On Ponce.
On Ponce, faces
wait.
Ponce, a historic building built in
That's
1919.
That's next to you. Break it. You break it. I fix it. That was.
It's right next to it in that one-way street.
Yeah, it's funny.
You have to go around the school.
No, I didn't. Jeff Garcia used to own that one.
So, Eric, you can ask her that question. But Merrick had his hand in a lot of things, but the school board at Dade County at the time was a little short of cash. It wasn't a lot of money in today's dollars, but back then it was over $10,000.
Back then? Or now?
10 grand to help finish up the school.
That's a lot of money.
So it was an elementary for many years, and then when Superintendent Carvalho came in, he looked at a lot of schools that he could turn into K-8 preparatory academies, and Coral Gables was one of the first. As a matter of fact, I was honored to be there the day that they inaugurated the middle school that's attached to it, which is kind of 1 block north, Caddy Corner, and to the east, which was the old Merrick School and Ace Academy, and now is the upper division, 6th, 7th, and 8th grade.
What size shirt do you wear? T-shirt?
Like a T-shirt?
Yeah.
Typically a 2X.
So the foundation sells beautiful shirts.
Yeah.
2X, 3X. They're at.
And what do you wear? Like a ladies' medium?
Maybe.
We call that a schmedium. Small, medium.
So, the foundation sells these beautiful shirts. Keep that in mind when you speak to Eric.
Listen, I want to get into the swag game. So I'll talk to Eric and I'll talk to Catherine on his team too. Matter of fact, I just chatted with Catherine about an hour ago. Catherine Caskey, who works with him. She's also involved in the Junior League, and I think I shared with you, I'm speaking to the Junior League's general membership meeting today about community engagement and involvement. I'm joining Vice Mayor Lago from the city of Coral Gables as we talk to the new recruits of the Junior League. I happen to serve on the Junior League Community Advisory Board for the last 5 or 6 years. It was the only way they'd let me in. On
the ladies' side?
Just in general.
Okay, we were talking about the vaccines, but we really didn't get to talk about the numbers. What's happening with the number? I mean, I continue hearing Biden says he's going to put 100 million out there. Then I hear New York's not doing fast enough. Some counties are doing better. What's your feeling?
First of all, I think you can always be critical of any process because, one, you may not know every little detail that's going on. But, we have been preparing for this since, Pfizer made the first leap of getting approved by the Food and Drug Administration, followed then by...
It seems like eternity ago.
By Moderna, and I think AstraZeneca is waiting for their opportunity. It does, but the goal was to vaccinate something like 20 million people by the end of the year. We didn't quite reach that number. So that number, I think, my staff will always say this. If they tell me that X number of people are coming and then that number wasn't accurate, I'll say, but you said it was this number. And they're like, we shouldn't have said a number because that guy never forgets anything. So I think, you want to be ambitious. I think the real issue right now is that, our 2-week, 14-day positivity rate has been over 11%. We've had a couple of better days in a row. Remember, we were up at 15, 17, 19,000. Highest numbers we had seen across Florida in the entire 10 months of the pandemic. And it isn't just because people are more readily being tested. It's the fact that, we're in that second, third wave. Pretty frightening.
This weekend, I'm involved with this baseball league, and they had evaluations. There's about 100 kids out there. Everybody's separate. Yeah. The kids were playing a little closer. All the parents, I'm going, people are tired. They want to get out. Everybody was wearing a mask, but people want to get out. And hopefully in the next 2 months, a more majority. I'm right on the bubble to get a shot. So I probably got 2 or 3 more months.
So, listen, if you don't think that this is scary as all get out, one of our members reached out to me about a week ago and said, hey, sorry, I've been a little MIA. We did a family reunion event for Christmas, New Year's during that week. We had everybody tested before we traveled, and they were all in one house, 21 of them. All 21 got COVID
Wait, so the family here went somewhere else,
and met up with other members of the
and
family.
they were tested.
And everybody was tested. Everybody had to have a negative result within 72 hours.
Yeah. Yeah, but
and it
2
seems
days
like
later,
maybe a neighbor kid from where they rented the house came over to play with some of the grandkids, and that's what happened.
and how's he or she feeling?
Well, this person's doing very well, but said to me that they had run through, kind of all of the symptoms. So had the fever, had the headache, had the loss of taste and smell, the body aches, the chills, the muscle fatigue. Thankfully, never had to go to the hospital. But think about a family that has kids that are probably from age, let's say 10 or 12, up to, I think there was a mother-in-law who's, late 80s. So if you don't think that the holidays had an impact, there's a perfect example. I mean, they went 21 for 21.
We know somebody, she already had it. She goes to her family event before Christmas, 12 people. She's 11. I mean, she's one. All 11 got it. And they passed it on to 16 family members. She already had it, so it didn't get affected. But everybody, her kids, everybody, showed up for a family gathering. You just don't know.
Listen, I visited my mother for about a 48-hour period, and really limited my interaction. I didn't stay with her. I stayed in a hotel. I just felt a little more comfortable. I also asked her, not to go to like Christmas Eve service, that if we could watch it on, on Facebook, I would feel much more comfortable, and, tried to do some things to make it seem like, we were there, because that was very important to her. And she was very unhappy with me, but you know what? She is healthy today. I took my follow-up test again yesterday and got my results today negative. So
at Tropical Park, it's
I did
unbelievable.
I just had to figure it out, and I went yesterday morning around 7:30, and they opened early. So whatever the challenge they were having on Saturday, they had figured it out by Monday morning. So mazel tov.
Okay, the CARE Act. They're saying, well, there's round 3. Why is it round 3? I'm a little totally
so
confused.
The PPP,
the new money hasn't come out.
Right. So the PPP was initially done on April. It's like around April 3rd. And that money, about $500 billion, was gone in an instant. So they plussed it up in round 2, and they made it a little bit more focused on smaller businesses. There was a little bit more of a hurdle that you had to cross. And then now this opened yesterday, round 3. It's about $450 billion, and it's for first-time applications, of course, a little more narrow. But you can go in as of tomorrow and seek a second round, but you have to show an additional 25% drop-off from when you applied the first time.
Gotcha.
Now, our restaurants, I'm sure many of them are dealing with that, and certainly our retailers.
But you can apply. But if you already got it once, you go again.
You can, as long as you can show that additional drop off. Absolutely.
Okay, next, you got an expo coming up soon?
So I'm working with Wayne Eldred and a company of ours called Brown Label.
Who is Wayne?
He is Wayne. And we've been piloting.
Tarpon Ben, as we call him.
Yes, we missed that, don't we? Thank you very much, Morgan. The PPP round 3 is $450. Yep. So
thank you for paying attention, Morgan. Good job.
So, and let me just say this as an aside, and I'll go back to the Wayne conversation, is that our community banks were the true heroes in getting those dollars out into the small businesses' hands in April, and then again when it was plussed up in May, June. Now it's taken us a while to get to this, current agreement, but I feel like with the House and the Senate in the same hands, with the presidency, that they will likely be able to move additional stimulus dollars, even talking about the $2,000 versus the $600 more quickly. And there's a lot of bipartisan support for continuing to help our small businesses. They're the backbone. They create 2 out of every 3 jobs. We've got 10 million people out of work. 10 million people that a year ago, if we'd been sitting here, would be working.
The 10 million are on the books. That's according to the government, correct?
Yes.
How many people are out of work who are not on the books?
Who have given up?
No, just saying their employees were paying them cash.
Oh, you mean in terms of payroll taxes stuff?
Yeah.
Yep. I mean, Miami, We have a history of some folks that are sort of working off the grid, but
Off the grid, I like that.
But
Okay.
for the most part, that's a very large number, and we didn't see tremendous job gains in December.
No.
Those numbers were soft, and soft in women versus men. The men's number had some gains, but women lost at a much higher rate.
Interesting.
Than they had any time in the pandemic.
So, speak about women. You have a business woman of the year.
We do.
You don't have a business man of the world.
We do a business leader of the year. Could be a man.
Wait, no. But you have a business woman.
We do.
And you have a business leader.
We do a great program with Equitable.
So isn't that wrong?
I don't think so.
Why can't you have a businessman, businesswoman, a business leader?
Well, sometimes I think the term businessman is redundant. It's just taken for granted that it's a man.
I know, pretty chauvinist.
But during March, we celebrate the women in our community.
It's Women Month.
Women's History Month. And so our partnership with Equitable Advisors
Louis
allows us to honor about 12 to 15 different women. Applications are available now. They're due on Monday, February 1st. And I hope people will pick up an application. You can nominate somebody. You can go online. Is it
going to be a luncheon? Is it going to be a breakfast?
I am hopeful that we will be able to do some type of in-person event. It may not end up being a luncheon because that ends up being a little bit longer. It may be more of a reception.
I love that idea. Listen, it's going to start at 5. It's going to be over at 6. It's going to be You're going to pick.
We did our Diamond Awards virtually, and those lasted about an hour and 10 minutes.
But if you do it outside, if there's a place to do it,
there is. And in March, it's beautiful.
Where?
Could be at the Biltmore. Could be out on Giralda Plaza. Could be any number of places.
I have to bring this up. I got lost in the Gables. I know it's unusual. I didn't get lost. I was cutting through Giralda.
That sounds like a book.
Yes, the west side of Giralda, not the restaurant side, the other side.
Sure.
Yeah.
Which block? 200, 300?
Whatever. The one directly.
400 is when you cross Lejeune.
From Lejeune heading east.
Okay. So that's the 300 block.
Yeah, they did a great job. I don't know who they are. It's so well lit. There's stores open.
Yes.
I don't know, the mom and pops. It's an adorable street. Then all of a sudden you get to the restaurant row.
Well, what I love about Giralda is it's a very well-known destination. And since it's become closed to vehicular traffic, the 100 block,
right?
It draws a lot of people. I was in the Gables on Saturday. I got my hair cut in the morning, and then I wandered around. It was great to see such activity, not only on Giralda Plaza, Miracle Mile. I had lunch at Zucca with Sarah Artacona, which is just opposite our office there. And then I had a very early dinner at Salumeria, which 104, which is right there on the second block. Amazing restaurant. And, it was great to see the hustle and bustle of people being out on the street, and beautiful, beautiful day.
That restaurants and those businesses that are on Giralda, that's not part of the restaurant row, the business, they're smart. Like you said, people are now walking.
Sure, because most of them, where they have to park, if they're parking on street, there's about 6 great businesses there, all in kind of one fell swoop. So you've got a new gelato place called Le Glacé. You've got Taberna Giralda, which is owned by Karen Pino and her family. You've got Mesa Mar. You've got Manny's great liquor store called Mystic Wines. You've got a great pizza place on the end there, Sapore. And they're all involved in the chamber. They're all wonderful businesses. And then across the street, you've got Tour Kitchen. You've got Dr. Smooth.
What kitchen? What's it called?
Tour. T-U-R.
I drove by and I go, what is that? And it's so, because I was.
And a new gym called Ruckus that just joined the chamber. So, listen, we didn't have a great December, but we had about 10 new members join us.
What do you mean great? That is great.
But I'm greedy.
Yes.
And I know what we offer. So I want those that say, hey, we're going to join, to just join us.
Okay.
Let us wow you with our advocacy, our promotion, our social media presence, our ability to connect you with, your next great client.
Okay. We got coming up in the Gables, February 12th, Illuminate Coral Gables by your former chairman. Yeah,
Patrick O'Connell. Matter of fact, I'm recording my January podcast tomorrow with Patrick and with Venny, and that'll be available on
Benny?
Spotify. Venny Torre, who's the president and co-founder, and Patrick is the vice president, secretary, treasurer, and co-founder. And so I was working on my questions today for the podcast. That'll probably be out beginning of next week and give a nice runway.
Can't wait.
So the Chamber as a co-founder, an initial seed money investor. We're one of the co-founding organizations, and we're a sponsor as well. So we're working with Patrick and Venny. And I can't tell you how excited I am to see these installations that I have seen only in 2 dimensions, or that I have seen on these artists' websites, and what they're going to bring to Coral Gables. And you can be outside, and you can be socially distant, and most importantly, you can experience Coral Gables after dark in a way that I don't think you may have ever imagined. I don't think George Merrick ever imagined some of these great buildings that are still standing today, having light thrown upon them in projections that bring them to life, that animate them, that create fine art in a medium that, most people have never experienced.
You sound excited. Okay,
I am excited.
Trustees, gyms. You got any new gyms? You got any new trustees? I know you got new members.
So nothing new so far for January. We're working on 3 or 4 trustees, and then we've got a couple of new members. We've got Gramercy, the new restaurant, which I talked about, that has joined us.
Have you eaten there?
I have. I had lunch there.
I like to eat, and you never invite me.
Well, the problem is a lot of times it's spontaneous. Like, I'm not thinking
Bam, great.
about
You want to
eating.
join us?
I skip a lot of lunches. I didn't have lunch yesterday or today because I work right through it. Today was the U.S. Chamber's State of the Business Community Address, was right at noon.
Okay, so you blow me off.
And
what about Miami
yesterday?
Heat?
My lunch canceled. I should have called you.
Miami Heat, what's happening to them? Are they a gym?
They are a GEM member. We have a relatively new board member, Natalia Collazo, who works in the ticket office. But, the Heat they've started 4-4. They had their game, unfortunately, canceled on Sunday against the Celtics. But, I am a huge Heat fan. I didn't grow up liking professional basketball. In Toledo, Ohio, the closest team that you root for is the Pistons. And they just weren't my cup of tea. Those were the days of, Bill Laimbeer and Joe Dumars and Dennis Rodman. They were really good, but they were really, really mean. They'd throw an elbow and you'd lose an eyeball or a kidney.
Yeah.
They were rough there in the Motor City. So, it is what it is. So Cleveland was not the Cleveland that was of the LeBron era.
You have another member, the 77 Sports Bar?
77 Sports Bar is the new restaurant that joined us. That's right at the end of Giralda.
What side?
So on the west side, right on the corner there. So they face Talavera.
But it's
they've got great outdoor seating. Ricardo is their guy. And this is the heyday for sports. All of our sports are back. College football has just ended, but, professional football is heading into the divisional matchup. So you've got,
how about Pittsburgh and Cleveland?
I have to tell you something.
I was cheering Cleveland on.
I don't know what happened to Pittsburgh.
They went 11-0.
They started 11 or 12-0. And
11-0.
This skid was just like, what? So I was taking that game was on Sunday. So I was putting down some rocks in front of my house. And so when I came in, I think it had been like 14-7. All of a sudden it was like 35-7.
Yeah.
Like, what happened? And, this is what Cleveland has been hoping and dreaming of.
I love that running back.
When's the last time they were in the playoffs?
20 years.
22 years?
Chubb is his name?
Nick Chubb. He played at?
Georgia.
At Georgia.
And where did he grow up? In Georgia.
Yeah.
And did you know there's a city named after his father who started the city, Chubb?
See, now that is a city that makes more sense for me to grow up in.
Chubb.
Please meet Mark Trowbridge from Chubb.
Okay.
Chubb, is it with 1 B or 2 B's?
2 B's.
Oh, okay. There's a clothing line called Chubbies.
What's this? Talk about swag, the new Miami.
Yeah, so Morgan, listen, I'm a huge fan of the Heat's, what's called the City Edition. That's the outfit that they've carried over from last year, Miami Vice, the hot pink and fuchsia and aqua. I mean, it's really, really sexy. They've got a whole new line of apparel out, and they're very smart because they have Tyler Hero modeling a lot of that.
He's 21 now.
I'm crushing on Tyler Hero.
He's 20, 21.
What's the only issue I have with him?
What? He doesn't
Where did he go to college? No, we've met. We've actually met one another.
Where'd he go?
He went to Kentucky.
So
the last time, or the only time I've ever met him, I was invited to a private event at the arena, and it was hosted by Florida Blue, and we were kind of, socially distancing, And I went over to introduce myself, and he was wearing a ridiculous suit because he's a
going,
little
my
bit
name
of a
is
clothes
Mark. Yeah, tell no lies.
And we had lost the. Remember, Pat Riley went to Kentucky also, played for Adolph Rupp.
Right.
So there's a strong connection, between the Heat and Kentucky. But over the years, the stars of Kentucky who are lottery picks haven't been around because we've been winning so much, that our stock is, the time we get to the draft, those guys are gone. But Tyler was available. He's so kind. So I'm like, hey, my name's Mark. I work at the Chamber. He's like very tall. He's wearing like this floral suit. And I'm like, so, hey, what's up? And I said, I went to Florida. He goes, oh, yeah. I said, did you watch the game? He goes, yeah, we had been up by 13 and we lost by 13. We blew it.
Right.
It was 26-point swing. It was embarrassing. And he goes, yeah, man, that was tough. He was like so nice about it. Like most Kentucky guys would like ram it down your throat. At least that's what I would have been doing had Florida won that game. And George is right, by the way. I tried to buy the shorts in the 3XL and it said sold out. And I really believe they were never really available. But I did buy this really cool hot pink T-shirt that just says Miami on
Can't
the
wait
front.
to see you in it. Okay.
I was wearing it on Saturday.
So, one thing that the Heat is missing, Erica's daughter on the dance floor.
Oh, I know.
Why don't you talk about Erica? Because, that girl.
She was really upset. Amaris. She was a Heat dancer. And then they make them go through tryouts again. And
she made it 1 year. That's all right. She made it for a year.
Make it the next
she moved on to bigger and better things.
She is. And she's got a great job. She works for one of our members, Wow Marketing. And she's a big weight. Her mom is a great inspiration to her. And they're both very creative folks. And, they look like sisters when they're together. Erica's very young.
Yeah. Erica looks young.
She is, but I remind you, she's very old now, ladies and gentlemen.
Do not believe that. I don't believe that. Okay, so what's next for the Coral Gables Chamber?
So, like I said, we've got a great week planned next week. You heard me already talk about the program that Eric is going to be joining us on next Wednesday, and Good Morning Coral Gables. But we have a great women's lunch, and it's a first of the year kind of new healthy diet. We have a gastroenterologist from UHealth joining us.
Who's that?
I apologize. I don't know her name off the top of my head, but she is going to be speaking at noon on Tuesday. And you know what? Here we are, 19 days in. So we want to make sure people are still thinking about their health. Maybe they've made an exercise plan. Maybe they've put together.
We are thinking about it. You're going to go get tots and 2 dogs.
And you can see it's Dr. Perlman. Yes. Thank you, Morgan.
We knew that.
New year, new you. A real chat. And so she's a gastroenterologist, which, bariatric surgeon. So for those of us that are still, fighting that belly fat and,
and again,
cortisol,
60 pounds, you look unbelievable.
Well, you're very kind. I feel great. And,
and you look great.
You're very sweet, Grant. You're only seeing me in my profile.
All right. We're going to wrap it up. Go for it. By the way, today's a great day.
It is a great day. Today is, I like to say this, make every day great in 2021. I think a lot of us were really bogged down as 2020 took a toll on us, both personally and professionally. It was quite the grip. And all of us in our optimism look very much forward to 2021. So give it a few more days than just the first 12. I'm laughing at some of the memes that people are posting that's saying 2021 is just 2020 with bangs. Let's give it a little bit more time. And, if your business plan involves you growing your business this year or bringing back clients that you may have lost or trying to find a way to be relevant and competitive in your business space, well, use our chamber to your advantage. I love talking with prospects. I had 2 calls today with potential chamber members. And what was awesome about that is that now I can be evangelist for you and your business. I can help you make those connections. We are a relationship-based chamber, and that is our competitive advantage and why we are proud to say we are the champions.
I love that. What a closing.
Thanks, everybody.